What is up, everybody? What is going on? I hope everybody had a great weekend. It is Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You know what it means. It's time for the Daily HiFi podcast. With me, as always, Mike and Joe, and back again, Aaron from Aaron's Audio Corner. What is up, everybody?
You got it this time.
I was kind of hoping.
Oh, you guys are great. Hey, Chris Wyndham, thank you for the super sticker. Boom, look at that.
Right out the gate, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Very
for
good.
that.
So good to have you back, Aaron.
Yeah, man. I appreciate the invite. This is fun. I had a good time last time. My wife, I told you guys, but just tell everybody else, it was kind of funny. She said, "So do you meet new friends today?"
Man, on the internet playground.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
pretty funny.
Yeah, but that Michael guy took the stupid volleyball and ran off.
Yeah, he took the ball and ran, went home.
So maybe you can help us answer some of these questions today, because that's what we're gonna do today.
Cool.
Let's answer some questions. And I did already see one.
Yeah.
You want to say who's in here, Michael, as usual?
Yes, sir, man. We've got Barney Jones was in here bright and early. Even says he's early. SI Services, of course. We've got who else? Comish. Hadn't seen you in a little while. Glad to have you here. Jim Dowell, BL Swagger.
Comish or is it the commish?
Did I say it wrong?
I don't have no idea.
Like the old television show.
Right.
Okay.
Is that
I don't know
what
that
it
one.
is?
Maybe. Commissioner.
No idea.
Neil's in the house. Good to see you. Chris, Optimus Vader. Good to see all you folks, man. But yeah, we had a question kind of early on.
Yeah, who
Was it the Denon one?
Yeah, there it is.
Okay,
Jim.
there it is.
Jim's
What are
got
the
a
biggest
question.
advantages of the 4700H over the 3700H? I am interested, but not too concerned about watts per channel since I have a separate amp. Looking for an upgrade on the 4400H. Okay. Basically, I think the only difference is Oro 3D on the 4700H. Other than that, they're pretty much identical. 11 channel processing, 9 channel power, DTSX. DTSX, IMAX Enhanced, Dolby Atmos, all that stuff.
Preamp mode.
Probably not going to hear any difference in the wattage.
They have that
between those two.
That Dolby. What is it? The
height virtualization thingamajig.
Yeah. What's the wattage difference between those two? I know he said he doesn't care, but for other
I
people,
think it's like 10 to 15 difference.
Hey, he's excited, man. Oro 3D for $500. That's a steal.
I mean, honestly, if you can find an X3600H, if you don't need an 8K input, then I would go with that. Because if you can find that for like $800, I've seen it for 800 on sale.
What's a 3700 at right now?
It's list price for 1200.
1200, 3700H. Wasn't it on sale not that long ago?
That one I have not seen go on sale. But here, I'll share my screen. I just looked it up. It's $1,200 pretty much everywhere. B&H Photo. Yeah, this is the 3700. I don't know why Walmart's selling it for 1700. Oh no, that's a 4700.
So 3600 is really the sweet spot if you don't care about 8K.
Correct. If you don't care about 8K, I'd still go with the 3600H. See. Oh, well, look at that. It's selling for 12. No, that's a different one. That's a 4500. It all depends on, who's having the sale, really.
Right.
If you can find a X3600H for $900, I would go with that instead. Yeah, no. Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. So there you go, Chana. You're welcome, Sound United.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, free plug there.
I seriously. Hey, before we get all crazy into it, I got to tell you guys what happened.
Tell us.
So, I live here in Mammoth Lakes, California, home to Mammoth Mountain Ski Resort. One of the largest ski snowboard terrain in California, right? So, over July 4th, we had this huge influx of people that came up and wanted to get away from COVID, came from LA, Orange County, didn't wear any masks, and our cases shot up. So fast forward to Thanksgiving. So the Thanksgiving holiday is one of the biggest ones for the mountain. That's like the big kickoff for winter. So same thing, they had like a few, policies that nobody followed. And the mountain hires 3,000 to 4,000 people every winter. Okay. And these are all people from Brazil, people from Argentina, people from Australia and New Zealand, right? Because they're just chasing the snow. Because down, southern hemisphere, it's summer, so they come up here for winter. Anyway, so a lot of the lift operators, a lot of the people at the restaurants and stuff like that, ticket line and everything. So people came up and they weren't following the mask guidelines, and so a few of those people got infected with COVID. Now, they put these people up in employee housing. So one whole entire employee housing is everybody's got COVID, right? And so it gets worse. The people that got tested but still are waiting for test results to come in, Mammoth Mountain put them up in different hotels around town. So like the sheer incompetence here is just mind-boggling. So now we are shut down for 3 weeks, no nightly rentals. And this is coming in right around Christmas, right? I think Christmas is in 2 weeks.
Couple, no, not
1,
2 weeks.
2, 1,
3
2,
weeks?
3, 4. 18 days is Christmas. It's Friday. It's a Friday in 2 weeks. So it's crazy, and I actually like it because when I go to my graveyard job for the next 3 weeks,
You
no
got
guests
nothing to
there.
do.
There's nobody there, so I'm going to bring some TVs with me. I'm going to calibrate them. Maybe play a little Call of Duty.
You get
I
paid.
have
You don't
absolute.
You're here like publicly saying like I'm gonna get paid.
Yeah.
I'm on the job calibrating TVs while they pay.
As long as the building is not falling down or on fire or a bear doesn't walk into the lobby, like my boss doesn't care what is going on as long as the building is taken care of. And I always take care of the building first, and then I get into like the extracurricular activities. And then if there's no guests there, then everything's locked up anyway. So it's not like, there's nothing to do. I'm just making sure the building's still standing. So
From what you're telling me on the phone, they're just happy that somebody comes to the job, right?
Oh my goodness.
At the job over there.
Oh my God. Okay. So, like all these people that come to like work here, like all they do is they're 18 to like 26, 27. All they do is just get shit faced every night. Like I was a morning supervisor at this mountain owned property, and every Wednesday morning, my 7 employees would be late. And I'd be like, yo, why are you guys late? Do you want the number one answer is? Well, it was Taco Tuesday yesterday. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I was there. I saw you. But I cut my night off at 11 p.m. You went till 2 a.m. when they closed. And then you did Lord knows what until you finally went to sleep. And they're like showing up like completely like hair disheveled. It's like they almost did what is that? The walk of shame, but they did it into work.
There's Mammoth for you in a nutshell.
Yeah,
you mentioned quarantine and masks and all that stuff, and we posted on the Daily HiFi Instagram. If you guys aren't following, Instagram.com/Daily HiFi. I think we're at like close to 38,000 followers on there. And I reposted Elacs where they had they have a new mask that says Elac on there. A lot of companies are doing that. And I think the comment was, what is it? Not the comment, but the caption. But something like, Elac says that speakers, if you use speakers with the grill on, it
attenuates some sound of some of the high frequencies, but it helps protect the drivers.
Yeah.
That's great.
There it is.
It's a great one.
So, okay. Yeah, we do have Aaron back. I think somebody's, where's Kenga? He says a worthy fourth. Bring back the 4 horsemen or what? Is that what you're looking for?
Woo! What do you think about that, Aaron?
Yeah.
Is that like sloppy
No,
fourths?
No. A worthy fourth person to be on the show.
I'll take that. I will take that. I appreciate that. I will take a compliment wherever I can get it.
4 horsemen?
Do I? Yeah, man. I was an X-Men fan.
Oh, okay. X-Men were
The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
Yeah.
But yes, I know what you're talking about.
How about like wrestling? Four Horsemen. You know that?
Oh, I vaguely remember those guys. Who were they?
I think Arn Anderson. I know Ric Flair was in there.
Yeah, okay.
Flair.
Yeah, Ric. I forget.
When I think of wrestling, though, I think of NWO. That's what I think of.
Yeah.
The New World Order.
See, we're older than
Crazy
you,
guys.
man.
Wow.
Couple years.
Ultimate Warrior was my dude, but anyway.
Yeah. Ultimate Warrior was pretty dope.
So it's funny because Chana's over here slanging some Sound United receivers, right? I think you don't. Aaron, what are you rocking? Yamaha or something?
How dare you?
No,
no, I'm just kidding. Actually, no, it's a Denon. It's like a 4000 model, I think. And I bought it from, oh gosh, what's that website? Accessories for Less.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
That's
I got it like
my area.
Yeah, I got it like half price way back, and I've had that for probably 4 or 5 years now, and it's still rocking, man. Yeah, I mean it came blimmed, but I mean I was fine with that. That's what I paid for. So
right.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to buy something from that site. Is it legit?
Yeah, I bought a few things from them.
Oh, yeah.
I recommend a lot of people go. Like they sell speakers and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, I've recommended a lot of people go to them, and I've never heard anybody say anything bad about them. So.
Yeah, they had a brand new pair of white Focal Arias for like 40% off. I was like, what? Like this can't be real.
Yeah, right. How are they able to do that?
I've been trying to like get in touch with them because they're local to me. Like they're
really?
They're in Orlando, so I think they're only like 45 minutes from me. So I literally could probably go pick up some things, save them the shipping.
That'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool just to go check it out.
Yeah. And I don't know if they've got anything like showcase kind of deal. It's probably more warehouse kind of stuff.
Yeah, you may be right. That would probably make more sense for what they're doing.
Yeah, because they're just literally online sales.
I think Jim says $3,700 for $1,000. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's funny because we're over here selling, and Aaron is doing the opposite. He's making sure people don't buy it.
He's destroying it. He's telling them, don't buy them. Don't buy that heresy junk.
I'm taking a different approach.
I'm joking, by the way. Because here's the thing. Most likely, if somebody doesn't buy something, it means they're going to just buy something else.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's more just about education. This is what you're getting when you get it. And, even if I hate it, somebody else may say, dude, that's exactly what I want.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's better to bridge a gap between, knowing what you're getting and getting what you expect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's really all ultimately that's what I'm trying to do. Matter of fact, I got an email back from Klippel today. They make this fancy schmancy measurement thing. And well, it's like a robotic. You basically put a speaker. I could probably do a screen share, but I'm slow. You put a speaker on a stand, and it goes around the speaker and it measures it in real time. It's basically it replaces an anechoic chamber.
Wow.
And, anyway, so I've been trying to work with them.
A bougie measurement.
Dude, this thing is sick.
So that's the kind of stuff.
Are they going to send you one?
Well, I don't think they're just going to send me one. I've been talking to them about maybe working something out where I can like a pay as you go kind of thing or something like that. I mean, because it retails for like $100K.
Wow!
Tell them your channel easily will replace that, dude.
Right.
Like tell them my channel is it on the verge of blowing up. Wow. That's what you need to tell them.
Look at that.
That's what I'm gonna tell them. So you put the speaker on the stand. So this is like a smaller Genelec speaker, and this little dude goes around it. It's fully automated, and in about 2.5 hours, it will fully measure. So this is what Amir uses at Audio Science Review.
Yeah.
Whoa. So wait a second. How much space do you need for this thing? You need like a garage?
I want to say it's 3 meters
about 6
height by 4 meters. Well, it may be 4 meter radius. I can't remember now.
So but
it would go in the garage. Yeah. There's I'm trying to think of the company. Magico, I think, is using one right now. They've got some videos out there. I mean, you can find videos of it in action. Let me see if I can find one.
Angus says they have one. So
who does?
At Paradigm.
Paradigm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm jelly. I'm super jelly. I don't know if I play this if it'll do audio, so bear with me because I'm still new to this stuff. But
okay. So look at that. Around. So it's very precise, right? It knows exactly where it's at.
Yeah. I mean, you basically set it up and you say, all right, these are the limits. Don't. Woo. Did that blast you guys? Because it blasted.
No.
Okay. Good. All right. Good. So yeah, produces a sine sweep, and then the microphone measures it in space, and then it basically reconstructs the entire 3D sound field from like math and physics.
So it almost looks like it actually moves up and down too.
It does, yeah.
It moves up and down, moves
up and
around.
down, yeah.
That's pretty
all around
wild.
the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
That's
it's
cool.
It's crazy.
100,000, huh?
Yeah, Klippel
Yeah.
should send that to you for free. Tell him Youthman vouches for you.
Yeah,
he's legit.
I'll let them know. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
try to get a youth man deal on that
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah,
Get it down to
yeah.
like 20,000.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah.
Great, man. That's great because I really, you know me, I appreciate the objective measurements because there's enough people saying, "Oh, I like the speaker."
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Mhm.
Well, why? Because the other guy likes it, or because you like the way it looks? Like, why do you like it? So it's definitely welcome to have.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there's something we can work out. Some kind of long term. I'll go bankrupt in my lifetime deal, but we'll see.
Nah,
Gonna buy 3 of them, baller status.
Oh.
you don't know.
That's
I mean,
pretty-
like, I don't know how many they're gonna sell, right? Like,
Yeah, I would be curious to know how many they have sold. Like, to who they have sold them. That's what I'd wonder.
You know what would be good is really if if you just start reviewing every single speaker like that, then there's no need for anybody else to buy them.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Right.
But,
Yeah, I
then
don't
they're
need-
at the mercy of me. They push it out the door, and I'm measuring it measures like crap, and they're like, "Oh, this ain't good."
Yeah, maybe companies
Yeah.
if they have less expensive stuff too, right? It's not.
Oh yeah. So the stuff that I use of theirs right now is quite a bit less expensive, but it just takes me 10 hours to do what that can do in 2.5. And that does it. I can set it up and walk away. Whereas with me, I'm having to measure like manually and turn a speaker every 10 degrees. Oh, I hate it. No, you still wouldn't need
like
a treater
Ron
room.
Popeil, set it and forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're done. You're
I
done.
just say everybody get sound bars and call it a day.
There it
It'd be easier.
is. Send them a link to that video of shopping for
Yeah.
soundboards.
That's what you need to do.
You know what? By the way, I need to mention at the end we're gonna do that trial based on SI Services has been asking us to kind of do like an after show type of deal. So afterwards, whoever wants to hang around and ask questions,
About 30 minutes in video
30
style.
minutes.
So you'll be able to kind of hang out with this video style like we did in the HiFi Summit. Just a really
Yeah.
good time. So
after the event, I'll put this back up, but we'll have a link here, and so you can go to that and just chat with us video. So hop on your computer, on your phone, it'll work too. And we'll
about
be able
30
to
minutes.
talk that way. We'll just test it out and see how it works. If you guys like it, if not, then it's cool too. You know, what I mean?
Daily Hi-Fi After Dark.
Let me see.
You guys ever watch 90210? It's the Peach Pit After Dark. It's the nightclub.
That just
Anyway.
sounds bad.
Peach
The
Pit After Dark. The Peach
Yeah,
Pit from 90210.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a Peach Pit After Dark once they started getting older, and they're like, "Hey, let's make it a nightclub." Yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
You know what's interesting is I think Aaron, while you're here, maybe you should kind of tell people why they should look at some of this objective stuff, because how many times have you read, I just listen with my ears, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's my ears. Well, the problem in my, for me is right now you can't go out and listen to speakers. I mean, you can
Right.
order some and try them out at your house. That's probably the best way, right? Try them out at your house and see if you like them.
Yeah.
But how many speakers do you want to go and do that for? You want to do 10? You want to
Right.
ship back 10, 9 speakers, versus if you can get an idea, right, just by
Yeah.
looking at measurements and say, you know what, I'm cutting it down to these 3.
this
Yeah.
looks good on paper. So
Right. I think that's important. Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily subscribe to the thought that I'm not gung ho with measurements where, oh, if it looks bad in a measurement, then you absolutely can't get it. But I will say that a lot of my, I guess, purchase decisions would be based on the data that's available. I would not buy a speaker blind. I guess that's the best way to put it. I would want to find something that has measurements on it before I even drop the money on it. But I encourage people when you're spending that much money on a speaker, even if I say that much money, I mean, $500 might be a lot to somebody and 500,000 might be a lot to somebody. You know what I mean? Like, so it's relative, but I would think that when you're going to make some kind of decision like that, that you would want to go with a company or a dealer or something like that allows you the opportunity to demo it in home and find out if you like it or not. So that's one aspect I would always pay attention to. And I mean, Amazon, like you can order stuff from Amazon, and if you don't like it, just send it back.
That's right, Sean.
that's what I always say.
Yeah.
That's Shauna's motto.
Yeah.
Yeah, return that shit.
That's right, man. If
Don't
it ain't
like
no
it?
good.
Yeah.
What was your reason for returning? It sucks.
That's it.
I mean, what are the options they give you? Don't need it anymore, I think is the one I use a lot.
Oh yeah.
What did I? Oh, I
made my
bought,
video. Need to return it.
Yeah. I made my review video. Don't need this anymore.
The thing.
That is awesome.
Oh mercy.
I remember. So I just returned like 3 HDMI cables, right? So I tested them right on the Marantz, and then RTS returned that shit, and that's exactly what I said. You know, no longer needed. And in the little description, I said tested cable, not HDMI 2.1 spec. Boom, done. You know.
Yeah.
But as I forget who was saying it, but you know, it's on you, right? Like the person sends you something and you measure it, and they're like, oh, this doesn't measure well. Like if you were part from the company, you would make sure that shit measures well, and then they send it to you, right?
Yeah.
And I got hit up by AudioQuest. They saw my video and they're like, hey, would you like to just test some of our new 48 gigabit HDMI 2.1 cables? I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, give me something longer than 15 feet, and
right.
I'm gonna say if it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass. And they're like, no, it's cool, it'll pass. I'm like, okay. So
you know what I like about Objective is when we're doing when we're giving recommendations, right? Sometimes it gives us a starting point. At least we're talking about something that we can all, refer to. So if somebody says like, I like bass and I don't like treble hot. Okay, well, I can kind of point you in the right direction, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Some sort of starting point.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, to me, ultimately it's about not just us understanding what we're hearing, but the correlation. You know, like if I measure a speaker, so I'll always subjectively listen. And if I take notes and I say, I really like the speaker because it does X, Y, and Z, then I'll look at the data. I try to understand why it's doing X, Y, and Z. And then I can tell somebody this is why it's doing X, Y, and Z. And the next speaker I get, if it does something similar to that objectively, then I'm pretty sure it's probably going to do those same things subjectively. And then people can make a purchase decision off of that. There's a lot of reasons to have it. And for me also, it's about, so for my channel, the one thing I like about the objective data is this accountability. If like, let's say I review something and man, it just sounds like garbage to me for whatever reason, but it measures okay. And it measures similarly to another speaker that I liked. Then somebody could call me out on and say, well, why didn't you like that? Then I got to go to work. Then I've got to figure it out, and I think in a way it also helps to keep me maybe unbiased, because even if I don't like a company, if their measurements look good, I can't really say anything is bad about it. I just, I don't like the way these guys operate, but they make a good product. There's that factor too. So.
Yeah. Have you, I think I asked this last time, has there ever been something that measures well, but you still didn't like it?
Not so far.
Okay. Yeah. I think,
well, I mean, like, so me and you kind of discussed the Numi. I think that's a perfect example to me. That's, it's a $90 set of bookshelf speakers and the measurements actually look pretty decent. It's certainly got some issues in it, but for $90, I mean, dang, it's impressive. Now you can't take it too much above like 90 dB, because they start to fall apart, but that's a good way for me to be able to point to people and say, I like the speaker subjectively. It's $90. Look at the measurements. I think it's great. I encourage you to buy it. That kind of thing.
Yeah. I think you can just make better recommendations. Like for you, I saw that the Revel and I'm like, I know he's going to like that.
Of course I'm going to like it. Yeah.
I already know, like, I know how that measures from other measurements. I'm like,
right.
I've heard you talk about what you like. I'm like, probably going to like those.
Yeah.
Just guessing. I think you'd probably like some Gen X at your desk or something. You know what I mean? Like,
probably would. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I know how they measure and I can kind of say like, I bet you'd like those.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't mind like the lower cost JBL stuff too. If you had to go that route,
probably would enjoy those as well. Because a lot of those companies, are designing based on objective data as well. I mean, obviously they listen. That's part of it. That's always going to be part of it. But they also back it up with objective data. And I think when you understand how a speaker is performing, you can improve it. It's easier to improve what you understand than what you don't understand.
Imagine if those JBLs didn't measure well. While that's kind of funny considering.
Right. They basically wrote right.
All of were there at the time.
Yeah.
That speaker. I wanted you to kind of talk about how those how it translates, because I think we kind of take it for granted that about those the tests that they've done about what most people prefer in their testing.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So I don't know how you feel about that. Do you agree with that?
I agree with it. I mean, obviously, I'm just a dude, and I know some people are out there like, well, of course, they wrote the book on it, so everybody's gonna be biased if their speaker measures that way. But like to me, good sound is good sound. I've been doing this kind of stuff for a while, and when I hear something I don't like, I know usually why I don't like it, and it shows up in the measurements. But yeah, I mean, the prediction for what somebody is going to prefer is based off a large pool of different people. Generally you're going to prefer something that on axis is not flat necessarily, but smooth. There's no major deviations from the response. But to me, that goes with logic. Like let's say you have input A, you have output B. If output B is vastly different from input A, then it's not true to the source. I mean, that's just logical. And then you have off-axis response, where the idea is that you want it to behave pretty well and controlled. You don't want it to have major peaks or dips off axis, because that colors the sound that you hear based off the reflections versus your directed sound. So I don't know. It is a science, and I'm glad it is.
I had one dealer, some guy, one of the guys, he sells like speakers. He's like, if these guys are so smart and if they really know what people like, then how come everybody's not buying their speaker? And I'm like, well, there's a difference between like marketing and selling a product that's completely different. Right. You know what I mean? Than actually having a good sounding speaker. Like
that's true.
You can sell a bunch of not good sounding speakers.
And I'm sure that happens all the time.
Oh, it happens all the time. I'm sure. Yeah. I think a lot of that too is, older brands, there's a lot of nostalgia there. Well, like for example, like if I could afford Macintosh amplifiers, even if they measured like junk, I wouldn't care. I'd buy one anyway, because they're gorgeous, man.
You just like the logo, huh? And the light.
Exactly, man.
Just wants the lights.
If a white panel van pulled up and said, "Yo, I've got this Macintosh amp, it's $40," and I would know it's not real, but I'm like, does it look like it? Does it glow?
As long as it looks close enough, you're there. Right?
I'm sitting far enough away. I won't see the details.
Here's a question. So do you measure components, and can you measure sound signature, followed by opinion on the BBC dip? So
I'll bore a bunch of people here. So do I measure components? All right. You tell me, do I measure components? Yeah. This is a ScanSpeak 7-inch midwoofer. That's one on deck. I just measured it today. This is a 3-inch. This is a car audio driver from a company called Stereo Integrity.
Those look a lot bigger in the photos.
Yeah, they do. They're really small. I probably should have put a ruler up next to them. And then this is SB Acoustics. These are like maybe 160 a pair. It's a 6.5-inch midwoofer as well. The ScanSpeaks, the first ones I showed, they
look crazy.
I want to say they're like $300 a piece, somewhere around that. I can't remember anymore. Yeah, big old overhung motor or underhung. I can't even speak right now. But yeah, let's see. Yeah, big coil. It's got a lot of linear through.
What kind of magnet is that?
Just a Neo magnet. I don't know. It's a crazy design, but I like the bolts on the back if you want to take it apart.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
convenient.
Yeah, maybe assembly line. I don't know. I'm sure there are other engineering reasons for it, but yeah, they're pretty nice, man. But yeah, I definitely measure components, because I try to find what's good value. Like just in home audio, the same thing, especially with car audio. There's all these brands that are ordering stuff from like China. They slap a label on it and then they charge $900 for a pair of 6.5, and it's like they're like $60 speakers. So that's why I'm into that.
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure if he kind of meant like maybe electronics.
Totally blew past that. Sorry.
Amps too, like there's that one where you can measure like crazy stuff with the amps, and then you see stuff like the car audio guys where they're just checking to see if the wattage is accurate.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, like
Big D Wiz.
There you go. Yeah, name escaped me for a second there. Sorry about that. Yeah, absolutely. No, so I don't measure components because I don't have the ability to measure electronic components to a high fidelity. It costs a lot of money. Like you're talking audio precision type stuff, and those things are like $20,000 to $30,000. I mean, I even looked used years back for like a middle of line one. It was still $10,000.
Yeah.
I mean,
you get the Klippel, you get the audio.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
All you got to do is get one brand, man. And everybody was like, I got to give him mine.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody just signs up and jumps on board.
Can you measure sound signature?
Yeah, absolutely. You can. Yeah.
And what is that?
So that's it. I mean, so you've got near field and you've got far field listening. So the further you are away from a speaker, the more there is room interaction. So then you care about off-axis response as much, maybe if not more, than you do about, well, I won't say if not more, but almost as much as you do about on-axis response. But if you're near field, sitting right in front of the speaker, then you care about near field response. But ultimately, it's just frequency response, and distortion creeps in as well. But in my opinion, that's not an issue until it's an issue. And what I mean by that is, like, a lot of the times, you know how it is, you'll be jamming out to your stereo, and then all of a sudden things sound kind of compressed, and you're turning it up and it won't actually go up anymore. And it just doesn't sound right. It sounds really grainy. That's when distortion is a problem.
Yeah, Michael does a lot of those testing, like the compression test, when you start like maxing out the subs and see where it's not going up anymore.
Yeah, that's really good information to have.
Yeah, so we do some basic stuff, Yeah,
no, basic.
It's good, man. But I mean, not everybody is going to have the time or the, maybe the ability to get into the nitty gritty. But that's just what I like. I mean, that's just, that's kind of my thing. That's what I enjoy. I'm interested in the science of why it's working the way it is, and so.
How about this opinion of the BBC dip?
I don't have an opinion on it per se. It's just to me, that's a deviation from, I hate to use the word flat, but that's an intentional deviation from input A, output B, and it shouldn't be there, in my opinion.
Without any coloration, right? That sounds like coloration.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard that the reason for that was because of the drivers before and the components.
Right.
They weren't that good before. And so this would help because of, the interaction between the two drivers.
Right.
Was nasty in that area. So this would help in that. But I think, when I talked to Andrew Jones, he's like, I would never do that now because we have good drivers. We don't need to do that anymore.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can cross a tweeter over a little bit lower. You don't have to worry about cone breakup on a midwoofer, so you can get away with using a 6.5 inch to, 2 or 3K pretty easily. And it doesn't have any issues until, an octave or so above that. So,
it's interesting. So we'll talk about this next week. Our guest is going to be Audyssey. So we have Jeff Clark.
Guy?
Huh?
Mr. Audyssey.
There's a guy named Audyssey.
Mr. Audyssey is going to be on there.
Odysseus.
That's right.
Is it Mr. Audyssey or is it Odyssey? I don't know. Something. Sorry, the way you said that was hilarious.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't remember the name. That's why I had to throw a filler in there.
It was Jeff.
I'm like, we're gonna have Audyssey on, but what was the guy's name? Something Clark. Yeah, Clark. But yeah, so what I want to ask him is, like, they have that mid-range compensation.
Yeah.
Right? Why is that still there? I want to know. Like, should we turn that off now? We have better features,
To me, that's kind of getting to the area where it's like, you've trained in a way the listeners to expect a certain sound. Now that they think that sound is correct, that's the issue I run into with some of the, like the clip speakers, where I got a lot of pushback from some people saying that, I like that sound. And to me, that's okay. But if you're going to call it an audiophile sound, I think that's inaccurate, because it is a very colored speaker in some regards. So that's just when you get used, that's preference, that's nostalgia. That's what I grew up listening to. So that's right to me. That's when you start entering those arguments, and you can't really win those arguments. I don't think that, certainly that's not my intention. It's always just to educate. Like, this is what you're hearing,
That's interesting. You talk about clips, and, a lot of times they say this sounds live, this is the live sound. And one night, Sean and I were just comparing the specs on, forgot which specific clip speakers, but we were comparing them to your PA speakers.
Yeah, to my QA, my QSDs.
Like what they're using, and, like, all the specs on them. Like, look at how similar these are.
Yeah.
So those speakers are kind of like the PA speakers in a live venue.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, that's why it kind of sounds similar. I mean,
yeah,
a horn, right?
Yeah, compression driver.
Yeah.
Driver that doesn't go very deep, but plays like super loud.
Super loud, yeah.
That's actually what some people were saying was, that's why they call it live, is for the same reasons you just mentioned, because that's what people were used to hearing in a live venue. So that's what they got used to.
Yep. BL Swagger says, how do the Larsons measure? I have them on my review. They're not super flat, but they do other things that I like that I found. What happened?
No, they do other things I like.
They do other things.
Awkward.
Oh, no.
Taking naps with them.
Yeah. What else? What else we got here? Let's
so
electronics.
Shane or 3D. Okay, so one of the things about the Marantz and the Denon, if you're trying to connect the app, just go in by IP address and type in the IP address. That's the easiest way to connect those two because I it's never popped up for me. So.
I get it on mine.
Yeah, it's tricky sometimes.
I think you got crappy. You got crappy internet over there, Wi-Fi or something. That's your issue. No, every once in a while I did have it not show up, and then I just have to like shut down the Marantz and turn it back on, and it's like, oh, okay, I see it now. So
all right, so I had an IT business for 10 years, so I can tell you right now that thing is just a little bit wonky. So once in a while it works perfectly. It finds it dynamically. Other times I've had to do what Chana's saying, which is specify what the IP address is.
Right.
And then other times I've had to actually just reset the whole thing. So if you have previous settings on there, you may want to just reset the whole thing to factory settings, and then it might find it. Yeah, so
that's a lot of work.
You have to mess around a lot. Sometimes unplugging that thing, replugging it in.
Yeah.
I was having an issue with the 4400H in the bedroom, so I threw it in the bedroom, and it used to work perfectly out here, and then I just reset it, and it started working. So try that. Reset everything.
Question from Jim. What kind of content and how are you outputting it that gets you 444 chroma? I hear some on this and that, and it's not super common, and you have to have precise setup. Not quite hi-fi. So basically, Jim, if you're looking at a, damn it, I reached for a 4K disc and all I got was Transtrip and CD. If you have a 4K disc, it's all saved on there. Here, no, that's a whack one. Okay, here we go. That was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 4K.
That was wow.
It was sent to me by the folks at Oro 3D because it's an Oro 3D and they wanted me to review it, and it was actually stupid.
Yeah.
The only time you hear anything Oro 3D is when he's putting the chainsaw up, and you kind of hear it like above you in the Voice of God channel, like from up there. Anyway, so the information is that we're talking about color chroma, right? Chroma subsampling. And 444 is fully uncompressed 4K HDR. 420 is what's saved on those discs. So the content that we're watching is not full chroma. It's up to your 4K Blu-ray player to process that 420 signal to 444 before it sends it out to your display.
So basically upscaling it? Is that what it's doing, or is
I mean, it's not upscaling. That's more of a resolution situation.
But it's having to kind of interpolate that, right?
It's processing it. Okay. Yeah, it's processing it. So, and that's a common question about, hey, should I use my Xbox as my 4K player or my PlayStation? And the answer to that is a big fat no. I mean, you can. If I was actually looking at these things, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. Yes, enhance. that's what Mike's saying. It just enhances it. Mm-hmm. To an extent, if you are coming from a 1080p and you buy an Xbox and you buy some 4K discs and you buy a 4K TV, it's going to look better than the 1080p. It's going to look good. You're going to be like, wow, this looks great. I don't know how this can get any better. It can get better, and it does that when you spend money on a dedicated player, because the processing, taking that 420 signal and translating it to 444 before it goes to your TV or whatever is what you're paying for. And that's what a lot of people don't understand.
What kind of TV you rocking, Aaron? Projector TV?
Living room TV is just old Vizio. Well, like 4 or 5 years old, maybe 4. Upstairs is a projector. It's a Sony, I think HW45 ES. I don't know. I really like it though, because the fan is dead quiet. To me, that was a big deal. I had I think it was an Epson 1080 UB, like pretty much the one that everybody started with, a few years back. But the fan was kind of noisy. So when I was watching movie and there was a quiet scene, or if I was listening to music, you could hear that fan just. So I switched out to that Sony. I got a good deal on it, and I love that thing. So, and then just a DIY projector screen, 120 inch, and then I've got a false wall with some JBL Pro stuff behind it. So
sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know what their video setup is, right?
Sorry,
I don't know that a lot of people know what your actual video setup is.
Oh yeah, because I really don't talk about it. The cool thing is the audio stuff. All of it came from the old Cinemark in town before it closed down, and
Oh.
the church actually bought them out. And then the sound guy for the church put everything in storage. He had like Altec Lansing. Like, I mean, I'm not kidding. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like, you know, close to $100,000 worth of stuff. And he was just fire selling it just to get rid of it because they didn't have any use for it.
Right.
So he said some dude drove down from like Iowa or something and paid him $10K for a whole bunch of stuff because he was going to put a movie theater in the dude's barn, like crazy stuff.
That's funny.
But I paid him $800 and got LCR. I've got cabs that I gutted the drivers out of, got 18-inch subs, got a couple 4-channel amplifiers. I mean, dude, I got a steal. I turned around and sold a bunch of stuff and pocketed a whole bunch of money. So
that sounds like a youth movie.
Yeah.
Right
Sounds like
there,
you,
man.
there you go. Alabama boys, come on.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to use it, but I was like, well, what am I going to do with this 18-inch Pro subwoofer? Because it's only going to go solo, you know?
Right.
So I wound up getting some stereo integrities and building some enclosures for those. But
Nice. SI makes some great subs, man.
yeah, they do. Mine are the HTs. They were like the budget ones. They were less than maybe like $150 a piece when they were on sale, but they work. I got them in some Stonehenge, I think, enclosures from like a flat pack, like 4 cube, and tuned to 17 hertz. So they get down.
There you go.
Reminder after the show, if you want to come by and talk to us in video format, so instead of 4 of us here on the screen, you know, it'll be more of us. So
Whatever.
depending
30 of
on how
us,
many of you
whatever.
guys are interested in doing that, all you need is a webcam. You can use your phone. Just click on this link. Maybe we can put this in the
chat box.
yeah, so don't hop in there now, but wait till kind of like the end of the show.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
What is chroma or chroma? I
Chroma?
know. I don't do video stuff, obviously. So when you guys talk about that, I don't know what that is.
Like,
It's all right, here.
I know what it is, but I'm like, oh,
Johnny's
man.
going to show you the graph here, baby. Here we
No,
go.
I'm just gonna go boom. In color theory,
wow.
chroma refers to the degree of vividness of a color or how pure it is compared to its representative on the color wheel. It can also be called saturation or color intensity.
Okay.
There it
There
is.
you go.
So is
presets, and I'm like,
yeah. So that could be objective, right? That's like data.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely.
I would imagine.
Like when I take measurements with the Kalman software and stuff like that,
Yeah.
that's totally objective. Like the funny part is, like, if I'll calibrate a TV, it's really for color and luminance, right? However, if it's a LED TV, even though it can measure perfectly reference level, right, it'll still have blooming, and that is just inherent with an LED TV. So even though it looks great, it measures well,
In
it'll still
certain
have
areas.
blooming. Yeah, like, and I notice this. I am very sensitive to blooming. Like, I know we had FOMO on, and he's very sensitive to judder, right? Something's passing along and it'll just kind of slowly stagger. So he always turns on the motion like clarity stuff, right? The motion interpolation, they call it. So for me, it's because I'm used to plasmas and OLEDs.
Yeah.
Like anytime I see like blooming, I'm like,
it's a subtle thing, because like you're talking about how like it can measure flat, right?
yeah,
Everything's correct, but then equivalent on a speaker is like, bad off-axis response, right? You can get on-axis to be like perfectly flat, but then off-axis, what is it doing? Like something you don't want it to do, and you can't fix it.
Right. Kind of like you can hammer a response down with EQ in one axis, but every other axis is like garbage.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just interesting. There's a lot of crossover there between audio and video, but more people are into the video. Like they trust that. They never say
I think it's because they can see it.
Yeah, exactly.
They can see it.
It's tangible, right? Like if I make this adjustment, I'm seeing it in real time. I don't know. Audio is just heresy sometimes.
Yeah, people hear voices in their head. They can hear noises at the dark, right? So like, who knows what it could be?
So we always joke like, so Samsung is like the V-shaped curve of TVs, or what? Like the way they're calibrated.
Samsung is absolute, like, that is the pain in the ass to calibrate. Like they, when I went into the 4K TV shootout, 4 TVs set up, and then the little $30,000 15-inch reference monitor, right? The Samsung looked the best when I walked in the room because they want you to pick out that TV in a wall of TVs, right? That's their goal, right? Because they want you to buy that. After kind of looking at the reference monitor and everything, I'm like, oh, that shit's not accurate at all. But if you're not looking at it next to a reference monitor, you're looking at it amongst another Samsung or some other stuff, because they have like a store mode, right? So it's just blasting brightness because they got to fight the fluorescent lights and all that kind of stuff. So it's just one of those things, man. And like I play a good amount of games, so I like to calibrate game mode, and that game mode on Samsung is like off the charts bad. It took hours to get it looking okay.
Wow.
Like I got it to and here's another thing. I got it to be like reference level, like perfect. But playing the game, yeah, it looks like ass. Like I had to go back and bump up the gamma and change a few things. I'm like, okay, this is playable. It's a mix between how bad it was and like reference level. So it's kind of like in between. So
that
it's
actually sounds a lot like speakers in what you're saying. I mean, catches your attention. And then, because I remember a long time ago, I read some guy where he was saying that, you should never buy speakers based on like a 10-minute demo. You should always live with them for a little while. So it sounds like TVs are kind of the same way. Yeah. It's interesting. Ironically, I've never fully calibrated my home theater setup. I know it's like I'm probably going to get kicked off here soon, but it was nice talking to you guys. I appreciate it. But no, I did like the very basic one, just I don't even know, like using my phone or something and holding it up to the screen, like, that looks about right. So, but what you going to do?
What's interesting also when people are talking about like, messing with their systems and adjusting EQ and just using their ears. The funny thing is they might not realize that your ears are constantly adapting. Yeah, how many times have you done EQ, let's say on your car system?
Right. Yeah.
You do it by ear, right? You're like, all right, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Sitting there for hours, right? You go and you say, like, what was I doing? This sounds like straight garbage.
Yep. Dude, that happens all the time. Like in car auto competition, people always say, like, you should never tune your stereo for more than like 30 minutes at a time.
And then walk away, right?
Yeah. And then just come back the next day. Yep.
Interesting how our ears work. And so that's another reason why we should rely on some measurements, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Like I like to go in with measurements, test it, listen. Okay, all right. And then, go back to, tweaking the measurements.
Oh, right. So Joe always makes fun of the fact that I use KRK studio monitors, right? Because he saw some video and the KRK sounded like crap, even though they're not the same KRKs that I have, obviously. But these are not, they are not flat. And a lot of studio monitors aren't. And the reason they're used is that we get used to them. And if I know when I'm stem mixing, meaning all the bass goes to one fader, all the drums go to one fader, all the keyboards and shit go to one fader, all the effects go to another fader. I know when I'm EQing those, because the 30 tracks, those are all EQ'd little elements of the song. Then these are like the another EQ. I use a different EQ, an actual mastering EQ for those, and I will know that whatever it sounds like on here, I can get it to translate. Okay. And so they don't necessarily, and that's just the way our ears work. We get used to how these sound, and if I could get the same sound on this that I finally figured out what translates well, then I go to the car and be like, oh yeah, no, there it is. There it is. So it's just the way like our ears adapt to it, just like our eyes adapt to like.
You're not adjusting based on how they sound necessarily on your KRKs. It's just those speakers so well, how that kind of translates to a phone,
everything
computer, a TV, because you're familiar with those particular speakers, right?
Yeah, and like
yourself to those speakers,
right? Exactly. So like, I really want some focals. But like it would take like 2 to 3 years for me to like figure out exactly where that same point is. So it's like I don't even want to upgrade.
Yeah,
I get
it's going to take more time.
Yeah. Hey, so you mentioned stems. This is a random question, totally unrelated to pretty much everything in the world right now. But I remember coming across like some website where they had like Linkin Park stems where people were like taking like segments of. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about? And they were basically remastering their album.
That's how
quality stem, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. You'll get the stem for the guitar track or the drum track.
So that's
just the bass. Yeah.
that then.
And then you can get it either dry or wet, meaning with effects, without effects. Obviously,
Gotcha.
dry is without effects.
Right. Okay.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
I use like Epidemic Sounds for all of my YouTube videos, and so you can download the stems. So if I wanted to remove, say, the saxophone, or if I wanted to remove
The vocal,
the
even.
kick drum or the vocal,
Okay.
so you have individual tracks. So
That's cool.
Well,
yeah, that's neat.
Epidemic Sound keeps it to 4.
yeah, it's just a handful. It's not
Right.
like 50
No,
tracks.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And
Man,
typically I don't
my
worry
ADD,
about it.
I couldn't do more than 2. I'd be like, oh, what's this one? Okay, I forgot that one. So, no way, 30? Like, you kidding me? I never get anything done.
The good thing is they'll give you an instrumental version and then a full stemmed version.
Uh-huh.
So I just usually I'm grabbing the instrumental, but every once in a while I'll be able to I can grab the whole stem and then just use parts of it. But
Okay.
I don't have that much time. You can spend hours and hours and hours just mixing that.
Maybe we could do a rapid fire pretty soon because we're getting backed up on a lot of questions here.
And RGA, yes. KRK was owned by Gibson, the guitar company.
I just like to tease
who also owns Serwin Vega. What's that?
No, I just like to tease you about your KRKs because what's your thing? Like, what are you talking about, man? These were mixed with these KRKs. What was that?
Oh yeah. What is it? The last, or no, I think the second to latest Kings of Leon album were mixed on the like $250 pair of KRKs, and they won Grammys. Like what do you want? You know? It's a matter of who's using them and how well they know the speaker.
Well,
like
didn't they say that is it Billie? How do you pronounce her last? Eilish?
Yeah.
Didn't they say that like she made all of her music like on a MacBook Pro or something like that?
Yeah, her brother did all the beats. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
Let's go rapid fire. Let's go ahead, Chana. Can you like run down some of the questions that you like here, and we'll just try to knock them out super quick?
I'm trying to read here. There's not a whole lot.
No?
What's up, guys? Can Aaron do a walkthrough of his theater room?
Man, you're locked down right there.
I can one of these days maybe I'll throw up a short video. It's I don't know. There's not really good lighting in there because I pulled out some can lights and the room is dark on purpose, so I don't know. It's hard. That's why I haven't done one yet. It's because I'd have to set up lights in there to really show it. And then I'd show the stuff that I don't want to show, like the DIY false wall I made with the like real cloth hanging down that's stapled into place at the top.
Well, that's why people should subscribe and get your views up and all that, so we can.
Yeah, that's right.
Work something.
Shielded power cables, dude. I just use whatever's there, bro.
Can you just wrap aluminum foil around them? Is that the same thing?
Yeah. Is that what shielding?
I don't know. I'm just
for
copper. You got to wrap copper around it and make it a Faraday box or cable.
Unless if they made some Mogami shielded power cables, then Chano would probably buy them.
Oh yeah, no,
everything
Mogami.
Mogami.
Buy those because like my studio's all in here with Mogami, custom links and all that kind of stuff. They do the trick. How about this? Yeah, I don't see too many questions, but this one is interesting because it goes on the movie situation, right? So why don't we talk about that? What do you guys think?
I hope so. I'm trying to watch that 1984 on HBO Max.
Yeah, HBO Max. They're just streaming everything.
Let's go.
Like, yeah, who was it? Was it Warner Brothers or
Warner Brothers? Yeah. All the Warner Brothers stuff for like the next year or something, which includes the Dune movie, which that intrigued me. And the Wonder Woman, I'm psyched on that because I've been take my kid to see that. Now, if they would release Top Gun 2.
What happened, Chana?
I said she's hot.
Yeah,
she might be.
Just a tad. Yeah, Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah.
How less hot with that Imagine thing though? When she did that whole thing. On social media trying to be like Imagine. She had all these actors, so cringy.
Oh, like a John Legend Imagine kind of thing. I never seen that, so I'm
don't watch it. Don't watch.
I'm not gonna watch it now. Thank you, Joe.
That's funny.
Yeah, I'm excited for all that. But people are saying that the sound quality on HBO Max is not good.
Correct.
That's true. I haven't tested it.
I mean, can we get Atmos and stuff like that? I know, I think there's only a few actual streaming services that I would be excited for that. Voodoo. What else? What other new ones come out that have? I mean, I think anything on the Apple TV. I just made an Apple TV video, which is, well, sort of. It's going to release tomorrow, but like, dude, the volume level is so low. I mean, it sounds good. The Atmos sounds good. It's just so low. You got to like crank it to get it up there, to like reference level. But yeah, HBO Max, Atmos. I don't think they're really known for that.
So you don't think it's going to have it at all? When 1980,
I hope
it better have it. What are you talking about?
hope. I mean, how'd you like the Mulan? Wasn't that in Atmos?
Yeah, I'm not really comparing. What do I have it to compare it to?
Oh yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, do I have physical disc and I'm like, go back and forth between those two? So what's Croson saying? Average price where diminishing returns takes effect, in your opinion, considering perceivable difference versus measurement. Example, 1 dB better measured, but the same otherwise. Diminishing return for what, speakers? Or
I think what he's trying to say is like how much, like if you're comparing a couple of different speakers and like, one of them is a decibel better measured than the other, like, is it worth the extra price? I think that's what he's trying to ask.
Yeah. So I'm going to ignore the decibel part. Let's just assume that, like, for the sake of conversation, that a perfect speaker would be one that measures in, Z manner. And, you've got a speaker that costs half as much and it measures Y. And then you've got this one that costs, twice as much and it measures Z. Where's the diminishing return? I can't answer that. Joe probably could answer that because he's probably got more experience with a wider range. Don't you? I mean,
yeah, so I would say, there's the
like 500 is where the breaking point is, but I don't know.
How about let's just talk about the ranges, right?
Right.
So if you're talking about, you've done $100 and under a pair, right? At that point, you're just like, you're happy that they're making sounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At that point, your expectations are very, very low.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm surprised with some of the stuff. Like you mentioned the, what were they? NUMI, NUMI, like they measure pretty okay. I mean, there's issues.
Yeah, right.
But
for $90, they were quite linear. I was actually surprised. I'm gonna see if I can pull up the response range while we're chatting about it. But
I think at the lower price points, like when you're talking about 100, 200, it's kind of like, you're noticing big jumps, right? From $100, $200 speakers, it's going to be a pretty big jump because that's they have more to spend on parts.
Right.
So of course it's always decreasing.
So this is it's not trying to cut you off, but just to example, this is the NUMI BS5 and it's $90. Joe and I both reviewed it. I can't remember what Joe thought, but I think mostly it was pretty good, right? I mean, you seem to like it.
I measured it. I'm like, my complaint was like, there's no bass. So
yeah. And so I think you and I both were talking about, you probably want to push it up against the wall, but if I go to the frequency response, there's a bunch of crap in here. Linearity. So, I mean, that's not perfect. You got this dip here. That's a port resonance. I can't remember. I think that was a port resonance as well. But for the most part, it's actually within plus or minus 3 dB. And this is a $90 per pair speaker delivered to your house. So, I mean, that's not bad.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's amazing. So, when you start getting 200, of course, it's going to get better. For me, I think, let's say for a pair of bookshelf speakers for home theater use, like if you're going to use them with a sub, I think if $1,000, right? Once you get to $1,000, then it starts getting to like, what else is it going to do that much better? Considering you're definitely going to use a sub, right? So any advantages that it might have probably are really diminishing at that point because you're moving up to, bigger speakers. Usually when they start getting higher in price.
Oh, here we go.
And then it becomes the finish of the speakers.
I'm talking unlimited price. Where is the point in which you start to see you're paying for pure aesthetics? Is it 10,000 a speaker, 200,000?
Okay, let's just say this. How much better is it going to be than those like Revel? Let's say if you talk about some Revel speakers, right? How much better can it get if they're already using beryllium, right?
Right.
What else?
That is literally the question I had is I would be curious to find a better measuring speaker. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying I would be curious to find a better measuring speaker and see what I think about it and see whatever price it is, if it's worth it, if it's just if it's cheaper or more expensive. the answer for me is that I can't answer that question right now. I mean, I just can't. I don't have enough experience there. But I mean, if we want to take it back to something I am a little bit more familiar with and I'll have a lot more experience with, let's say we've got this $80 drive unit, right? It's a SB acoustic drive unit, and I've measured enough of these to know that it's a good performer. If you're going to DIY something, you're going to put it in a cabinet and you're going to build it to the cabinet to the right specs, and you're going to cross it over the right region. It's a good performer. But is it the best? No, absolutely not. This is one of the better ones, but probably the top 2 right now. And this is about 3 times the cost just for one drive unit, right?
Which one is that one again?
This is the ScanSpeak Locator 18W. But the question is, how much more is it worth it? You know, like in car audio, we do this stuff all the time. Is you got a speaker that's $100, a speaker that's $500. And car audio is a terrible environment. Just as an example, though, you know, is it really worth it? I don't know. I think that's up to you. When you
everybody has to answer that. Don't know.
Yeah. When you start to separate the performance, what happens is when you get to a point, they all start running together. It gets compressed. You know, all these price points and values start to run together, and then you may get to $500, and then, you know, there may not be a big leap until you're $3,000 for a loudspeaker or something like that. So I personally can't answer that question. And I was wondering maybe if Joe could, just because he's got more experience with a broader range. And I'm curious, you know, like where you felt like, okay, for me to get a big jump, I'm going to have to spend not $500, but I'm going to have to spend $3,000 now to get a big jump between 500 to 3,000. Otherwise, it's kind of right there.
Yeah. Real quick, in car audio, does Morel get into that game?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah. They're actually my friend who did my install in my car is a dealer for Morel. So yeah, and they do quite well in the competition lanes.
Yeah. You know, if you just have to go to you know, one of these high-end audio events, and you can easily just walk into a room where they have super expensive stuff, and sometimes you're like,
it's okay.
Why is that so expensive?
Yeah.
You know, I can see they look crazy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The finish awesome, and they look like they don't even look like speakers at a certain point.
Weird, yeah.
But you're like,
I've seen some that look like UFOs.
So
yeah, no, totally. It all depends on, like, you know, you can, like, a lot of people want a $5,000 pair of speakers. There's a good amount of, you know, speakers at a $5,000 price point. Mm-hmm. When you get to like a 10,000, now we're going into using different materials, right, for the drivers. Beryllium, large berylliums, like not even like a 1-inch. We're talking like, you know, 3-inch, 5-inch, like mid ranges, like and then a lot of it is aesthetics too, because now we're getting into the wood finishes of the speaker,
and some of them are handmade too, which that adds a lot of cost to it.
It's true.
You know, like the Revel. No, was it Revel?
I don't know if they're handmade.
It was Focal.
Yeah,
Focal. So Focal makes a lot of the, you know, hand. I mean, their cabinets are just handmade, man.
Well,
so
like
that adds a lot of value, or not value, but a lot of cost to it.
It does, absolutely. Yeah. I think people don't understand, like, again, car audio, custom fabrication. I mean, I can slap together some junk stuff, you know, on my dash, and it would look like I did it, and it would probably sound really good, but would it look like something I would want to show off?
Yeah.
No way. Like the B&W, I think for me is a personal example.
Yeah.
And they're like 20 to 25,000. And I'm gonna be honest, they slam. They got they got double tens, you know, and they're fun to listen to. But do I consider them like the most accurate speaker for that price? No, you know.
But they use them in Abbey Road.
Yeah, but people are going to like them. So I really think that it just comes down to a lot of it is, like you guys say, aesthetics are involved too. You know, that at some point you start to run out of technology, and let's say the $5,000 point. Okay, now technology is taking you this far. Now you got to finish it. Now you got to, you know, make the cabinet look great because you want to show it off to your friends. I mean,
and honestly, you have to justify the cost.
Yeah.
Right. Like the price. Like, perfect example. I was trying to get my DJ business for a wedding. I was trying to break that $3,000 barrier, right? I can charge $2,400, $2,600, $2,800, but $3,000, I can't just be like, well, I've been DJing for 19 years. These other guys have been DJing for 3. So I can't just be like, I'm better
Yeah.
You'll have a better experience. So what did I do? I revamped my system. I bring a 55-inch TV. I have a custom logo made of the people's names and their date, and I let them choose like the background and stuff. So I make it visually appealing.
Mhm.
There's more going on here. My lighting's good. Like these stupid lights that are in my DJ stream. This is all from my DJ business, right? I got the best lighting. I got the best sound system, the QSC stuff. So it's like, you have to justify it in a way that's visual. You just look at, oh man, look at those things. That's got to cost a lot.
Oh, here's a question, kind of to modify that question a little bit. If not considering the bass part, let's say if you had to just mid-range and up, right? Because I think that's one of the difference starts to happen is like you talk about these big speakers, they start getting huge, and then of course they're full range because they're huge.
Yeah.
They're huge cabinets, right? But I'm talking about like, well, most of us have subs, so that's taken care of. We're gonna ignore that. From mid-range and up, now how much better is that speaker gonna be?
Right.
You can talk about a better quality of material for the tweeter, right? Waveguide and just good science with the enclosure. You know,
maybe some crazy.
What else are you gonna do?
Did you guys see that new picture from what is it, from Sonus Faber on their Instagram? They're literally here. Let me try and pull it up. You guys keep talking.
Video thing about something they released last week. So Joe, kind of going along that though, is SPL. You know, like how loud do you want to turn it up? Because a 5 1/4 inch mid range and a 1 inch dome tweeter are only going to get so loud. So then you start multiplying drivers. You know, now you got 2 6-inch mid woofers. You know, and they're only covering 300 hertz and up or something like that. You know, well then you've got to balance the tweeter, you know, because you got to build the right crossover for adding a whole bunch of more speakers. So I don't know, man. The higher SPL you want, the more complicated designs get, the more you got to pay money to get good ones.
All right. First of all, don't just type in Sonus Faber because you get this guy. Who the heck is this guy? I have no idea.
That's not Livio.
Trans World.
Oh, all right. So Sonus, look at this. Look at this. Right here. Look at that. Look at this crossover situation.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
Damn it.
It's like a charging coil. What is that?
Yeah, they just made a clip so you could see it. They're showing it off.
Yeah, they're showing it off. And like, how come I can't? What is going on here?
You can charge your phone on that thing too. Charging.
If you guys go to this, like they got like 6 pictures here. Oh, I can't. No, I don't want to like it. Oh, here we go.
Just a giant. Okay.
You know, they're just showing it off, but like, look, that's cool. This is what you're paying for, right?
It's on the back though. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's right there.
It's cool. Yeah, it is.
It's cool. I mean, I'd be like, damn, look at this shit. I'd be like, hey, you guys got to check out the fucking crossover in the back.
I've seen subwoofers that are clear enclosures, you know, plexi enclosures for subwoofers. You're like, man, that's cool stuff, you know? So, whatever works.
David Carlson. So he's a moderator with me in Budget Audiophile. He says, Micca MB42X, you need nothing more, right, Joe? You know, and I know, Aaron, you hate those. Garbage is I think
that's what I said.
Or garbage.
Really upset when I reviewed those, man. I went in with high expectations.
How much are they though? How much are they?
Well, so they're the same price as the Numis, but they're garbage compared to the Numis.
So they're $90 and you went in with high expectations, really?
I went in because all these freaking people were like, the best thing ever.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem. That's the problem is you reviewed the Numis first, right? Like if you were just like, all right, $90, like, all right. These you don't measure very well, but like after the Numis, it's kind of a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's the thing. I was like, oh, so I bet they're probably similar to the Numis. And then like I listened to them and I was like, whoa, what's that about? You know, and then it's like really piercing. I mean, to the point where I thought I had a bad speaker. So I said, okay, I'm gonna measure this other speaker. I just did an impedance sweep on the other one. And they measured the exact same. I was like, no, these speakers are identical. Like unless they both came from the factory.
Jack.
You know, and then if they did, then my review still stands because they're shipping out crap.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, so here's the thing. Like I've talked to you about it. Numi is a new product, right? And so same distributor actually. That's what's kind of funny.
Yeah, you mentioned that too.
Back then, there was no other speaker. Like there was really like there's Bluetooth speakers that you could buy, right? Or like you'd have to get into like actual audio stuff. But then Micca MB42X and then Elac came out with their debut. And so you're like, oh, what? Like I can start actually buying like it's kind of a new trend.
Yeah.
So
for a while. Well, I think the problem was that I measured and tested the MK3 series, and it seems to me that the MK2, if I trust the other sources, is that the MK2 actually was good, and they messed it up when they try to fix it. They try to fix something that wasn't broken. It sounds like, no pun intended.
I think it was just really, we were just happy to have a woofer and a tweeter inside of an enclosure. Like that was, we're just happy, like, whoa, woofer and a tweeter in an enclosure was already good enough.
With 2 full-inch or 2-inch full ranges.
You know what I mean? Because it's either you had Logitech computer speakers, Bluetooth speakers, headphones, or you had to like really jump into like bookshelf speakers, right?
Well,
those were the options.
We were talking about the Numi, and you mentioned to me that they were coming out with the powered. So I did email them. I dropped them a line.
Yeah.
We got them coming out in a month. So they said they would send me a set out to review, and then I'll send them back, or because I doubt they're going to be much, and they may just say keep them. And if they do that, then I'll just give them away. But I'm kind of excited about those. I think I'm just hoping that they didn't mess them up. You know what I mean? Like, I'm hoping that they still sound as good. They're just powered now. That's what I'm hoping.
I think they're going to slap on a plate, no DSP whatsoever is my guess.
I'm okay with that.
What else? I still want you to review the RB42. Tell me that those suck.
I think, okay, I will if you want me to. I mean, even if I don't think that, I'll just tell you that.
Huh?
You said that suck. I said I will if you want me to. Even if
I'm kind of curious.
Those, I may be wrong, but it seems like Amir measured those. Now, I mean,
did he?
I think so. I may be wrong. I have a terrible memory. I'll go Google this. Oh, you're Googling? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. DBs.
Let's see. What else? Let's answer some questions here.
I asked one earlier. What do you guys recommend? Just a 2-channel amplifier, like $500 to $1,000. Not too expensive, but not super cheap. Do y'all got any recommendations there? Somebody in here shouted the Emotiva amps, but I'm just curious if you guys got any.
I'd go used. I mean, to me, I'd go used.
Yeah,
in that price range.
Yeah,
because you get like $350, $400, 2-channel. I've got a Acurus A200. It's 200 watts by 2. Man, this thing is a rock solid beast.
Okay,
beautiful sounding amp. I think I paid like $250 for it.
Okay,
so
yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Everyone's stuff around town, but I just some of these guys on Facebook Marketplace, it's like they have a picture and there's like a dead squirrel behind a box, and I'm like, I don't know.
Dead squirrel behind a box.
Yeah, I live in
that's the bet. I love finding the deals that they don't even put they just say speaker.
I never get.
I want to find out what that speaker is, because that's that. A lot of times that's that hidden gem where they say amp, or they call it it a stereo.
But you're too scared to ask them, right? Because you're scared.
No, I ain't scared.
Oh, okay. I was thinking like I'm always nervous that if they'll somehow figure out what they've got by me asking what they have.
Nope. I ask all the questions, Yeah, BL Swagger knows what it's about. It's right there, man. The YMD. Youth Man Deal. So, yeah, man, there's just so many good things on the used market. When your budget is tight, that's the biggest thing.
Basically, what Michael is saying is people don't know what they have, and it's up to you to go there and fleece them for everything.
I'm okay. Yeah.
I just show up with money.
I just show up with money.
Literally, I just show up with money and go, I would like to buy what you're wanting to sell. And they're like, I like that. And we have a mutual agreement. And,
they don't know they're getting ripped off.
They're not. That's the thing, though.
That's the beauty.
They cannot be getting ripped off if
they're okay with it.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Yeah.
Now,
if I manipulate them, if I lie to them, then they're getting ripped off. But if somebody lists,
you don't do that. You're the pastor.
No, if somebody lists something on Craigslist and says, "Hey, I've got a pair of," Aaron hates these, but maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But
I probably don't.
There was somebody that listed a pair of Klipschorns, which are what they're known for.
Yeah,
$200. I was gonna go buy them. I didn't know where I was gonna put them. I didn't care at that point. I just knew they were $200.
Yes.
If nothing else, I'm gonna sell them and make $2,000 on them. But it was crazy. But yeah, the used market is pretty wild when it comes to, and you can still find some really good electronics. They're just going to be several years old.
Yeah.
But what we always try to tell people in the home theater, amplifiers especially, man, just get a solid rock, amplifier. That thing will last you for decades. Sometimes.
Well, I've got an AdCom that somebody a car audio friend actually just gave it to me. He was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna help you out." So, and he repairs them. So he was like, I mean, it works. It's not the greatest thing, but it works. Sure. It's like a 2-channel. I think it's 100x2 at 8 ohm, and that's
air sound amps that have been around the block for 10, 15, 20 years.
It's crazy how long some of that stuff, like Macintosh's stuff, like goes for so much money because it doesn't die.
Yeah.
All right. So here we go. You're right. He did review the RB42.
Oh, okay.
So let's do a live assessment here based on the data here.
Oh,
let's see here.
That's his headless Panther.
So here we go. Is
here's that a relatively small speaker? Ooh, that's interesting.
It's tiny. It's using a 4-inch woofer.
It's like the size of this coffee cup.
It's like like that big.
Okay, that's what she said. Okay.
So what are we looking at here?
Changes my nickname.
Johnny just throws them all there, man.
I couldn't figure out which
one of each button for that. Oh my gosh.
That's interesting response. Yeah. That's interesting. I mean,
so what are we looking at here?
I don't know. So it doesn't look terrible. The what below 200 hertz. I can see that because you guys are saying it's a 4-inch. It's a really small enclosure. Looks like a medium Q bump around 200 hertz. But the mid range is actually pretty good. And they've got, I don't know, probably their tweeter is just too hot. Not a good crossover between the tweeter and the mid range, or that mid range is breaking up and they don't have it crossed over low enough. One of the two. So
what am I missing at the bottom? I'm not seeing any hertz. It says there is.
It's in
it's 10 to the whatever power. So 100,000, 10,000.
I don't like that format. I like
that's kind of funky.
I'll talk to them about that. That's their default for now. That's actually one of the reasons why I take the raw data that I get, I export it into a text file, and then I made a few scripts in MATLAB to produce the graphics the way I want them to look, and that's one of the reasons why.
Yeah.
So
I was like, I've never seen that. So.
Yeah, it's kind of a pain. Well, and that's the exact reason why I do it, is because I don't want people to open it up and be like, what is this?
Yeah.
I'm closing it and just move on and then be like, data doesn't mean anything without even giving it a chance, Yeah, I don't know. That's not a very well measuring speaker. I guess I would, but that's a 4-inch driver. So you can figure out the beaming frequency, 13,500 inches per second divided by 2 for a half wavelength divided by 4 for the size of the driver. So that drive unit will beam at around 1687, so about 1700 hertz. So you can take that information and look at that first graphic and kind of see if you see any breakups there, and then you'll know outside of that range if that's what's causing it or not. So,
yeah,
it looks like, so if I go an octave above that, that's right where that bump is. So I'm going to guess that's some breakup on that 4-inch mid range. Yeah, without near field measurements, you don't know for sure. It could easily be the tweeter crossover, but if I had to guess, I'd say it's going to be the maybe a breakup or a combination of the two.
So here's like where the subjective part comes in, right? Because we have to analyze this data that's coming in, right?
Yeah. So that's the thing. Your review is only as good as your data, and that's one area where, like, a lot of Stereophile magazine and all these other outlets that do, quote unquote anechoic measurements, they don't. And I'm not knocking them in it because I've done them the same way for years. But they're not high fidelity enough to show you everything that you really need to know. And it's more just a high level look, and you can kind of draw some basic conclusions. Mm-hmm. But if you really want to get into the nitty gritty, you need finer resolution data. You need more data. Just in general. So.
But for the average consumer, are they worried about that?
No, I don't think so. But so that's part of the thing that I feel like I'm trying to do with my channel is to educate.
Like your mission, yeah. Yeah,
exactly. I'm able to get the data. Now let me tell you what the data means, like what I know the data means, and then let me provide you with what I heard, and let's see if we can work through this thing together, and then I can help you determine if this is the right speaker for you. That's kind of my goal with that.
Right.
So I'm looking at it from this perspective, like, okay, I see the data, right? Now let's add some subjective, some perspective to that.
Right.
Initially, when this came out, this was $129 a pair. Right now, they bumped up the price to $149. So, okay, they're not perfect.
Right.
What other speakers are you going to get then?
Right.
What's your other next best alternative?
Well, and when they came out, you probably didn't even have one, did you? I mean, I'm guessing you probably didn't.
For $129, around that time, there were some.
Right.
But the whole thing about these is they actually had bass. Like this
Yeah.
little Porsche, they tuned it such that you could get some pretty low bass with it. Actually,
Well,
hilarious. So
small as it is too, to me it looks like it's meant to be a desktop speaker.
a desktop speaker, and then so it's kind of like, can you EQ that? Can you use like a free parametric EQ?
Exactly.
And kind of get that to sound pretty good for $129. Yeah. So that's where this perspective comes in. It's like, now what can you do with that? If this is all you have, show me something better for the price.
Yeah, I agree.
I forgot. You can't. So that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about comparing these two.
You're doing great.
We're not doing that.
Dude, you guys, my kid is smart.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got here? What other questions we got? Anything you guys want to talk about?
I don't know. Are we going to jump into this after party?
Yeah, we can. Let me.
After party, and after the party, it's the hotel lobby. No, I did that wrong.
Oh, yeah. Something like that.
Here's maybe one more easy one we can.
No, you got it right. You got it right.
Okay.
So how about this one? So brands, maybe like higher end that are outside of our norm. What are some brands you'd like to work with that you'd like to review?
Focal. Send me some focals.
Yeah. Anything focal.
I mean, the Sonos Faber, but honestly, I mean, the reality is they know that my target audience isn't, it's not.
I'm going to be buying that stuff.
Yeah. And they're looking at going, youth band, I mean, you're doing Marantz, you're doing Denon, you're not using Macintosh, and that's what they kind of pair theirs with. And so it's just a different demographic, I guess. And so sometimes it's harder to work with those higher end brands if your channel isn't about that anyway. Like Joe's doing $129 speakers, and so they're going, not sure your audience is going to fit well with a $30,000 speaker.
Right.
When they're trying to figure out how far can I stretch my $300 kind of thing.
No, it might be scary. You're like, oh, you're using $2,000 speakers, and you don't see that much difference between that and going to ours. Mm-hmm. I think they probably want somebody who's going to just like be wowed by them.
Yeah, just
no matter what,
salivate over it, and go, oh, these are sweet.
Well, a lot of it is just what people are willing to spend.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if you're like, well, I have this $5,000 pair and I put them up against this $1,000 pair and I can't tell a difference, then what are they going to say? They're going to be like, I'm never sending these guys speakers anymore, because they want people to know that it's better, right? Because you're paying more, even though it's completely and utterly subjective. Like that's the messed up part. That's the messed part,
What's going on over here? I see some debate in the.
Help somebody understand that Floyd Toole's book, how you can take all the spin data, you can take anechoic data on and off axis and predict how the speaker is going to behave in a room. Because a lot of people say, well, that's fine, it's anechoic. Well, it's not going to equate to that in a room, and actually it does equate to that in a room, and it's pretty much above the Schroeder frequency. Below that is when you have problems because it's just bass modes and stuff like that. But above that, it's actually very predictable how a speaker is going to behave in the room. I mean, on my website, every speaker that I've tested so far, I overlay the anechoic spin, the prediction of the response in a room, and then the actual measured real response in two different rooms, living room and home theater. And they always align very, very well, except for my home theater has some things going on with it because of placement that I don't have anything or any control. So
you're saying if you can kind of take the speaker or the room away from the measurement,
yes,
and you can predict how that speaker will perform within a room.
Yeah, you really can. Let me see if I can find it.
What people might get confused is like, which room then?
Room.
Because rooms are obviously different though.
Right. Yeah. So it's an average room, and I don't remember what the actual criteria for that was. But let me throw this up there real fast.
Like Chana doesn't have an average room. His is.
I don't have an average.
Mine's at all like an angle.
Yeah, different shape, different.
Well, so first of all, my living room is a weird living room. It's very, very wide with a whole bunch of bookshelves and stuff like that. But my home theater room is, you see most like upstairs rooms where they have the knee walls, so it's like maybe 5 or 6 foot wall, and then it's like sloped like 3 feet or something like that. So my home theater room is not like a typical room. But so here's an example. Let's see if it shows up. I don't know if it will.
Go ahead and
okay. All right. So I'm looking at this and ignore the red line, but the black line, what that is a culmination of all sorts of measurement data, and using Dr. Floyd Tool's method of taking measurements horizontally and vertically of a speaker at every 10 degrees or 15 or whatever you want to do. You can predict, or you can generate a predicted in-room curve. And usually above, so for my room, this is just home theater comparisons right now. Above 1K, the prediction is very tight. So if you're comparing the black, that's the prediction from the data. The blue and the green are both actual in-room measurements. So the blue is an in-room measurement of the main listening position in a 1 cubic foot space. The green is the moving mic average across the entire front row of 3 seats. But you see how well those blue and green lines trend with the black line?
Yeah.
And from the data, I can say, all right, this is what it's going to do in my room quite reliably. Below that, the way that my baffle wall is made, and I would basically have to go and take speakers out of my room or out of my baffle wall to put speakers in a so what I'm looking for here, I guess an opportunistic position. I don't know if what I'm saying makes any sense or not. I would have to find a picture, but basically I built a false wall. And because of that false wall, it's got speakers embedded into it. And when I go to test a speaker, ideally what I should do is not have a false wall, but I just put speakers in front of that false wall and I'm like, okay, I know what I'm going to get. So, but yeah, so you can see that from that, you can actually get a good trend and very, very good idea of what the response is going to do. In my living room, that response tracks down to about 400 or 500 hertz very, very well. So when people say that, when I put a speaker into my room, it's not going to matter, all the anechoic data goes out the window, that's actually not true. And I would have agreed with you until about a year ago when I actually started doing this stuff and understanding the relationship between the measurements and a prediction of in-room versus an actual in-room measurement. So I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. Sometimes I blow right through things and don't think them through, but hopefully it gives you an idea.
Your channel and other channels who are talking more about objective,
right?
People are going to start, learning about what happens above that transition frequency.
Right. Yeah. So, for example, I bet if you took Joe's RTA response of those NUMI speakers, and I took that and I grabbed it and laid it over the predicted in-room response curve generated from all that data, I bet it would line up quite well. So,
yeah. So you can make some predictions. That's really what I've been learning and what's interesting, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, 'cause then it takes the guesswork out of it, and you can look at it and say, okay, it's most likely going to behave in my room this way. It's going to have this much bass, or the tweeters are going to be kind of hot or something like that. So you can make reasonable conclusions from the data, which is all you're trying to do. You're not trying to say with absolute certainty, this is how it's going to sound, but you want a good idea before you go and drop $5,000 on the pair of speakers, if it's going to do okay, or if it's going to sound like junk.
And it does get tricky below that transition frequency, though.
Right.
Yeah. In the bass area, that's where it starts getting
that's when you need multiple subs and or DSP. That's a nightmare after that.
Yeah. So again, let me post here. If you want to hang out and just chat with us in a video chat, kind of like we did at the HiFi Summit. Anybody who was at the HiFi Summit, you remember the VIP area? Let's test that out and see, if you guys want to jump in there, just talk to us. I'll leave a link right there. Boom, boom, boom. And then we'll hang out. We'll hang out and talk. So just click on that link and it'll ask you for your webcam. What else?
Audio.
Your mic and the speakers you want to use.
Guys, my daughter jumped in and said I'm doing a good job.
Yeah, I saw that. I was
You didn't see that earlier?
Wait, isn't that his last name?
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a second, what is going on? I'm like, no, that looks like his profile picture. So
That's funny.
I'll be doing this
up on
video
screen.
sometimes. She'll be like, Dad, you do some good stuff or something along those lines. I'm like,
That's
thanks.
That's kind of like, so you have your wife saying like, are you having fun with your new friends? And then daughter saying you're doing a great job. So must be doing something right here.
Yeah.
So that's funny.
Oh yeah.
All right, everyone. I guess that wraps it up for today. We're at 5:30 already. If you want to jump into the daily HiFi test link, make sure you do so. Yeah, but that wraps it up for today's episode of the Daily HiFi I didn't curse today. Is that what curse?
You,
Oh,
you did.
You did.
I think
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Bombs, but you know.
yeah. Couldn't close enough. Anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. This is the Daily HiFi Podcast. We do this every Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Next week we have Audyssey guy, the actual guy,
the Audyssey,
Audyssey guy,
you know? James Audyssey,
Dr. Audyssey.
Jeff from Audyssey. So you can ask, get your questions ready.
Yeah, think about what you want to know. You know, be a good chance to ask them. I know I got some questions I want to ask.
I know.
So
Write them down.
All right, on behalf of myself, Michael, Joe, and Aaron, thanks for coming back, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
we'll see you in the back.
Oh yeah, in the VIP in the after.
After